What makes Trinidad Chambliss the best quarterback in the SEC? Well, we talked to Coach Corey Burton to find out just what makes this player so special.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I'm your host, Steven Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former staff member at Ole Miss as well. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network now, the number one sports podcast network in America. That's because of fans like you taking in content like this, and we couldn't be more thankful. And today's show is going to be all about Trinidad Chambliss. We're bringing in Coach Corey Burton from Locked On Ole Miss All Access tier fame. He's going to be doing a spot of what he's learned about Trinidad Chambliss whenever he was breaking that down. All of this and more on today's Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Remember, we're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube. And a special hello to the insiders and everydayers who make the show what it is, and that is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into a bigger potential win. With college football parlay profit boost, head to FanDuel.com to get started. All right, Corey, one thing I am very excited about, first of all, welcome to the main channel and the main show, what's going on. But what makes Trinidad Chambliss the best quarterback in the SEC?
Well, Steve, first of all, thanks for having me on. But, man, what makes them the best quarterback in the SEC is honestly his poise under pressure. I mean, when I was breaking down his red zone stuff, especially, and I've got a third down episode coming soon where I pick out his top 3 third down plays, and they all happen to be in the red zone. Also, there's just any of his highlight worthy plays that were on third down, just were in the most of them were in the red zone. But just in the face of pressure, he's calm. He can move. He can escape. He can run. He's not a run first guy. He probably could be if he wanted to, but he's really good at just buying himself some time and delivering the throw with great poise, not even blinking at the pressure. And that's one of the things that really jumps out at the page, whether it's an RPO fake, whether it's play action boot, whether it's just a normal drop back with heavy pressure. Dude he just operates.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about whenever you watch a game where he's playing quarterback. One time a game, he makes a throw that you're like, oh, wow, that's the best throw he's ever made. But he continues to do that week after every single week. For instance, in that Georgia game, 3 consecutive unbelievable plays followed by the absolute perfect pass, 45 yards on the run that was the dagger that kind of sealed that game for Trinidad Chambliss. One thing that I am excited for, especially for Ole Miss fans like myself. Ole Miss hasn't had a Heisman candidate like this because FanDuel has him as a legit favorite. He's tied for the favorite to win the award right now at plus 8,000. That's roughly 8-1 or plus 800, I should say, or something like that.
Yeah,
8-1. And I'm pretty excited to what this looks like. Now, is there a chance that his Heisman hopes will get crashed on by basically splitting the vote with Kewan Lacy?
Possibly, but I think when people watch Ole Miss, they're just going to see Trinidad, and it's all going to go through Trinidad, and people are still going to have that Sugar Bowl on their mind where he had that unbelievable series where he was Houdini for like 3 straight plays and got him down and actually scored on that drive. And then, of course, his best throw of the season was the dagger, like you just mentioned. People are going to have that in their mind. And so Kewan Lacy, I think, is going to be great for you guys, but I don't think he's really going to be a threat to split votes with Trinidad because it's all going to go through Trinidad regardless.
All right, so we're going to get into the weeds here just for 1 second. So what concept do you think Trinidad does best? And describe that concept to the people that are watching and listening to this video.
There's a lot of concepts, honestly, but I think he does like the Y cross concept really well, especially off of And it doesn't even really have to be a big fake. It's just kind of a token play action. It's not even really a play action. The linemen are kind of softly firing off, and then they get back in their set. But just hitting that crosser coming across the field, I think with him just being able to slide in the pocket just a little bit and just throw it right on the money to that tight end crosser. And if you get a tight end that knows how to run that deep cross where he layers under the linebackers and then climbs over like the alley defender, and that both of those defenders just get lost. And Trinidad is really good at putting it right over that alley defender's head, and it's called layering the ball. He layers that ball right in there perfectly. He made several throws like that throughout the course of the season. To me, that's one of his best concepts. And then, of course, he's got a really good deep ball too.
Yeah, and like I said, he can make some passes that are absolutely unreal. The one thing that he struggles with from time to time is the tight end pop pass, the kind of where the little trick play where it's almost a vertical pass to where you're just kind of touch it up over a linebacker. He seems to have a little bit of trouble with that, but
it's a tight throw, Steve. It's just one of those throws, man. You have to be perfect on it, or that linebacker's going to pick it. Or, I mean, it just catching the ball, getting it set in his hands. I don't think he's too quick with that, which is why I think he struggles on some of the really fast throws that he has to make.
Where do you think he can actually make a jump? He made the jump from Ferris State to Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
Where does he make a jump in year 2?
Ooh, the biggest jump would be, I don't know. To be honest with you, there's a lot of things that he made huge jumps on last year. I mean, red zone is always a concern when you have a new quarterback, because you have a guy that can run and kind of do a bunch of different things. But I guess the biggest jump he can make, and where defenses are going to really key on him, is when you get inside the 15 and that field really shrinks, and you get defenses, okay, well, he's done this, he's done that. You know, he's tucked the ball and ran on like a student body left quarterback sweep. He's broken contain. He's booted both weak side and strong side. So it's just really being able to have a bunch of accuracy on the run, I think, is going to be his biggest thing. And then those quick release throws will be the biggest jumps that he can make. With John David Baker, those are some throws that he's going to have to make with the increased prevalency of RPO. So to me, that's throwing on the run when defenses, especially when the field is constricted, and of course those quick release throws that sometimes he kind of struggles on, because he's just, getting the ball and the speed of the defense as well. Just those two things just haven't mixed with him too well.
All right, when we come back, we will talk to Coach Corey Burton about John David Baker and how his offense could utilize what Trinidad does well, but what is the news type stuff that you might see that Trinidad could be very good with. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. College basketball is nonstop, big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night, from tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts. There's always action on the board, and now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want, rivalry games, matchup games, whatever fits. You can mix spreads, totals, player prop, match how you see the slate playing out. Then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up your potential payout. Look at the odds around your team. Ole Miss's basketball season feels like it's starting to slow down and come to an end. Maybe football season is what you want to pay attention to. FanDuel can hook you up with Trinidad Chambliss, Heisman odds, and eventually future wins that you could jump on as well. Go safe, go bold, ride with your team. You've been following all season. It's parlay your style now with more upside behind it. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill sitting wide open. That is when the pressure's on and you need to make the right hire. This is a job for Sponsored Job. Indeed, Sponsored Job helps you reach people who actually fit what you're looking for, whether skills, experience, or even location. So you're not just hoping for the right candidate stumbling across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching, right? So when you need the right person, you need to cut through the chaos. This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed Sponsored Job podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support your show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And what if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. Always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by the people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to defend. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. And event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, a registered futures commissions merchant and swap firm. Hey, do us a favor, like, subscribe, and comment on this video. Subscribe to the podcast on whichever audio podcast you're listening to and give it a 5-star review. It costs absolutely nothing, but it keeps all of this free. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network in America. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Ole Miss with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more. All for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonolemist.supercast.com or check the link down in the show notes to learn more. Coach Corey Burton takes part in the All Access tier. So does Dalen Flowers. So does Mike Huseman. Plenty of videos up that you can watch of that. So, Corey, John David Baker coming in famously. And some of the funniest things that I've seen is the whole, oh, yeah, with Charlie Weiss leaving, you're going to struggle with John David Baker. And they don't even look that he was a co-offensive coordinator his last 2 years at Ole Miss with Charlie Weiss before he went to East Carolina to become the dude. And ho-hum, he just made the 13th best offense in the country. Trinidad's going to be fine. John David Baker is going to be fine. But what can John David Baker do to emphasize what Trinidad does well?
Well, I think he has a great understanding of what Trinidad actually does. I mean, I think what he's able to do with this offense, it's going to be a different chapter of the playbook. It's not going to be the exact same, but I mean, you're not going to see a ton of dramatic shifts in what Ole Miss does, series to series, but I think you'll see more RPOs. I think you'll see a little bit more quarterback run. And I think you'll see a more aggressive approach to shot plays, believe it or not. And I think using the tight end down the seams is something that John David Baker does a lot. That's going to be a throw that Trinidad's going to have to make and can make. If it's 15-plus yards down the field, he can throw a frozen rope to a tight end and be perfectly content. I mean, Javante Connor caught a bunch of those for East Carolina last year. He's heading over to Vanderbilt this coming year. So that'll be fun for Vandy, the team I cover primarily. But, as far as that, it's going to be like riding a bike for John David Baker. He's going to get back on campus and go, oh, this is cool. Oh, yeah, I remember being here. Okay, let's go. And I think this offense could be even more explosive with John David Baker. Now that he's got that year of calling it by himself, he's going to have a defensive-minded head coach, so it's not going to be, Lane Kiffin kind of meddling in the play calls. However, he did. I don't know the frequency in which he meddled in the calls. You probably know better on that regard. But I think
about 10%, about 10% of the calls.
Well, that's 10% less that anyone's going to be meddling in the calls with John David Baker. So that might make a difference in the rhythm, the manner in which he calls plays, the situations, the aggressiveness, whatever the case may be. He's got full autonomy for the most part. Pete Golding will probably give his 2 cents every once in a while as head coach, and he should. But to me, RPOs is going to be something that I really am anxious to see what Trinidad does with. And then, of course, the shot plays, the deep posts, the seams, things attacking the middle of the field, I think will be a big staple.
Yeah, and the thing that Ole Miss's offense was so good with the last 2 years is actually something that John David Baker brought into the system, and that is the switch release concept of wide receiver. And that is something that John David Baker loves to do because what it does, it gives separation, creates a little bit larger windows.
And he does it with motion too sometimes, and he'll get in bunch sets, two-man tight sets where he'll zip down the outside receiver, get him behind, and then they'll have that switch released where the corners have to back off a little bit so they can figure out who the new number one is, things like that. It really puts the defense in a bind. And I love that concept, and it's something that you could hit the seam too, because maybe the safety jumps over top and the safety and quarter miscommunicate, and they both jump the outside route, and the inside seam is there. And before they realize it, it's already 20 yards down the field, and big chunk play there, momentum, stuff like that. So yeah, Ole Miss hit a grand slam with this hire with John David Baker. And that was something that was fortunate. And maybe that was something that was in the back of his mind. He's like, if this offensive coordinator job ever comes open, I'll be ready. Lo and behold, after 1 year, here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. It should be pretty fantastic. All right. Deuce Knight got brought over. Deuce Knight played high school ball in Nashville for about 6 games. So
Yep. At Lipscomb. Yeah. That was, oh my gosh, that was a whole story right there. Trent Dilfer. Trent Dilfer was already gone. It was Kevin Mawai.
Yeah, it was Kevin Mawai.
It was Kevin Mawai. Did some things where he had Deuce Knight and one of his teammates living in an apartment by themselves so that they could go to school at Lipscomb. They got caught, and then Deuce Knight they shipped him back to Mississippi. But I was like, good Lord, man, this is, Nashville private school football is, it's the Wild West, man. That was a crazy story. But Deuce Knight was, for 6 games, he was electric at Lipscomb. And I was like, man, by the time we played him, I think that had just happened. I was at Innsworth at that time. And the week before we played him, that's when all that stuff broke.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. I think he's going to end up getting the number 2 jersey at Ole Miss. It looks like spring practice is going to start sometime around the 17th, I think. So, somewhere around that for Ole Miss. They're going to wait until they come back from spring training or come spring break and after potentially pro day. And then it all ramps up and everything.
Are y'all having an actual game? Is Ole Miss having a game?
We don't know. It hasn't been announced one way or another what happens yet. We're waiting on an announcement at this point. I think that Ole Miss should have a game.
Yeah, I think they should. Vanderbilt's having a game.
So
that makes any difference.
All right. So anyway, everybody, thank you very much for tuning in today. It's Locked On Ole Miss podcast. We're going to continue to talk Ole Miss football all week. So make sure you subscribe and follow the show so you get all the latest episodes. We're on all the social channels as well, so check that out as well. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Clubber is built for you. Get Locked On Ole Miss ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonolemiss.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we're going to send you on over to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. For an audio, make sure you get a second listen. Go to Locked On Vandy or Locked On SEC or Locked On College Football. Anyway, hotty toddy, everybody. Thank you so much, Corey, for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we are going to keep pressing towards spring football. Take care, everybody.